We are recording this meeting, and it'll be posted on the district's website.
Okay.
It is literally that simple. I
Yay,
can't
John!
believe it.
Because we feel it's important that it is public access, but this way
Sure.
everybody knows what's being said and what's being discussed.
Right.
Are there
Makes
microphones?
perfect
Where-
sense.
There are microphones throughout the room, so it should be able to pick it up, just like when we have other board workshops,
Okay.
is how I understand it.
I was watching,
Need to call Ms. Filak.
I was rewatching the school board meeting and I couldn't hear a thing. Like, I'm in the room, I couldn't hear, but then I'm watching back the recording, I thought at least the mics would have picked up. I couldn't understand.
They did.
I couldn't hear a
And
word.
just so you guys know, the only reason my cell phone is turned off is I have 2 handicapped grandchildren in the same family. Little guy had a kidney transplant, so he's all, he got it at 18 months, he's now 5. But his older sister is a quadriplegic, so if he goes into crisis, which has happened, I have to leave immediately.
Yeah.
So that's why my phone is here.
Well, I've got mine turned off.
Yeah, mine is.
Well, mine's on vibrate, but if you see me looking at it, it's just to check and
no
see if it's
problem.
her.
That's fine.
Because, I mean, it has happened probably 10 times since he's had the transplant.
Right.
No,
Right.
in regards to the Florida Sunshine
Hi, Ms.
Law,
Filak, this is
anything
John
you
Boyd.
text.
How are you?
while you are in the middle of this meeting,
I'm
is
doing
subject to
well,
Florida
thank you.
Sunshine Law, which means somebody
We're
can publicly
about to
request the
start
text
the
that you
committee
sent.
meeting.
Better
Would
just
you
put
be
your
able
phone
to
away, is
join
all I
us on the
said.
phone? I have an
Well, I
extra
too
cord
am
to put you in
kind
the
of like
center
you. I
this
have a
time.
mother, 96
hear
year old mother
better.
with Alzheimer's
All
that's
right.
been in the hospital.
Now I'm gonna put you in
and
speakerphone and we haven't officially
know, if that
commenced
call
the
came
meeting.
in, I would step
People are
out
still
and
coming
take
in,
Again, this is
but
all a
at least you would be
hypothetical
able to
scenario.
over
Right.
here.
No, I know.
Yeah.
To join in.
Because
Would you
Yeah, yeah.
feel like you
Yeah, we
wanted
talked about it the
So
last
let me
time, and
put
we'll
you-
bring it up again.
Well, I
The
sit,
sunshine.
I sit in another committee with the county, with the Tourist Development Council, and what, you can't talk to anybody about what is said, basically. So
Yes,
basically,
we're fine.
if you talk to
Don't worry
another
about it.
member,
I'm gonna switch you to
you're only allowed to
speakerphone.
talk to them here right now. You can't talk to them outside
You're
about what's gonna
welcome.
be discussed in the meeting.
Whoops, that was
Because
the mute button,
basically,
sorry.
you
Here's the
talking to, like,
speakerphone.
for example,
Hello?
Debbie?
Yes.
Debbie, I'm
Uh-huh.
remembering that, let me give an example of the Sunshine. Then you'd have to publicly advertise that you're meeting with her, for example, for coffee, so we can't basically meet outside.
Like, I wanted to call him so bad to say, okay, can you
What, I
make
can't be your
sure?
friend?
You can be friends, but you can't talk.
You can't talk about the
You can't
meeting.
talk about the
It's
meeting.
better, I usually
Right.
tell people the same thing, it is better just not talk to each other, but it is what it is.
Well, I wanted to call Daniel and say, hey, Daniel, will you
Hi,
help
Ms.
me with the
Filak,
speaking
this is
order
John
during
Boyd
the
again.
meeting
I'm
so I don't
sorry, we
miss somebody that wants
disconnected.
to talk.
I'm gonna put you on
But I couldn't do
speaker
that till I got
now,
here.
so hopefully
I know,
you
it's-
hear.
In the magic room.
So-
Can you hear us?
You can't email them
Yes, I
either?
can.
You can't
No,
email
Awesome.
them?
Wow.
That's why
All right.
Chris that was here
Chris, yeah,
is no longer on the committee.
right.
Chris was tall.
Yes, long straight hair.
Yes.
Because her and I know each other outside and we're involved in other things outside and it's like, well, what are we gonna
And the
do?
conflict of interest.
Yes.
So it's to protect, it really was created.
ID Anise.
How are you?
Did I get it right?
I like that accent, yeah.
I did.
I tried,
Look what
How
I
are you?
did.
Good to see you.
Look what I
Good to
did.
see you too.
ID Anise.
Very good.
Phonetically
That's cute.
I just
spelled.
found out I can't talk to you.
You can.
Sunshine, this was the
Sunshine law.
sunshine law, yeah. It's, it was used to protect the politicians and the vote, and the word for us. People put into basically positions like this in the public, just to make sure there's transparency. That's the whole point of the law. It was in the 70s.
But if you're on different committees or different offices, it's fine.
I'm not the expert on sunshine law.
You should be, just
Yeah.
fine.
And we can talk issues that we cannot talk.
You can't talk about what is.
Right, yeah.
Right, I
What
was
is
gonna
like
say,
following?
I
you
talked
know.
to her about
Yeah,
Christ, about.
that's why I said, you look familiar.
You're
This is
fine.
what it-
Yeah,
As
yeah.
long as you're not talking about something that we're gonna vote on, you should be just
Well, I
fine.
wouldn't
Real
think
fine.
it would be.
Okay.
I tell people, just, it's better just,
You're right with the
don't even
team
talk to them.
discussing.
Well, you're going extreme.
Yes.
I
Yes.
am, it's better to be safe than
Well,
sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, self-control
Welcome, ma'am,
works.
how are you?
I have to practice
Good, thank you.
self-control.
And then,
Yeah, it works. It
we
works
do
for
take,
me.
so we
It's been a day, trust
Yes.
me.
we are about to hit 5 o'clock.
That might not be a bad
We do take
idea.
roll call, correct? We are taking roll
Cause
call.
I'm
I'll add
like-
that to the
When
list.
I
Cause when I
drove
got home, I was like.
417 today, please just go crazy.
Natalie, Nadia, Denise, Diane.
I was going down
Debbie.
there trying to figure out who did we vote for.
No,
president.
she got it. Denise is bien fácil.
Pero
You know how do you have a nephew named Liz?
Oh.
Adia, Liz.
I'm like, is that it?
Adia.
Adia, and then
I couldn't
it's.
remember your name.
Yes,
and
that's
then I
April,
was
and I
like,
think that's Daniel.
Adi?
You are
Anis.
correct.
Okay.
Okay.
There's
All right.
Adi,
And I know you're Ruby.
When I- It's
Okay.
5 o'clock,
Thinking of you
so
because
we're
I
gonna
had
go
this
ahead and start.
beneficiary, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All
Yes.
right.
I'm gonna
That's when I
have
was
a
trying to,
Um,
I'm like, okay.
We're gonna take, official attendance so that we are being recorded, so that every individual who listens in to our meeting knows which members were present and not. And if I mispronounce a name, please excuse me, I'm trying. All right, first is Miss Ruby.
Here.
Bridgeforth, correct?
Yes.
Christian De La Torre, he has excused because he had a family emergency. Tanya,
Yes, hello.
hey Tanya, how are you, sweetie?
Good, thank you.
Chris has resigned from the committee. Nellie is our alternate, and she is here this evening. Nellie Hernandez. April Jackson, that's me, I am present. Daniel Lopez.
Here.
Debbie Mann.
Here.
Mr. Mohammed. Christina Morris. Adianis Morales Robles. Didn't get it right, I tried.
Here.
And Diane Knight. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Flowers is in training in Inverness today. John Boyd.
I'm here.
And Mr. Kreppenbacher is only as needed. And Andrea, would you introduce yourself to the committee?
Yes, hello, I'm Andrea Jurgens. I am the math coordinator, K-12 for our school district. And a guest, and thank you for having me.
All right, first thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the January 18th meeting, which John has a copy of, and thank you, Debbie.
Who replaced Chris?
Diane Knight,
Diane Knight.
Miss Knight, who's right here. Do you want to tell us briefly about yourself? Because we all introduced ourselves last time, Miss Knight.
Okay, I am a retired Orange County Public School administrator. I was an administrator, high school, elementary school, and then at the district office. After I retired, I worked for a couple years as an educational consultant with Meteor Education. I have 2 lovely granddaughters and 1 lovely daughter, and that's about it.
Fantastic, thank you, Diane.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, and I'm trying to put faces with names. Christina,
Not here.
not here. Okay.
And we do have a correction to the minutes.
The last name, it's not Roberts, it's Robles. So it's
I
Morales
think
Robles. As it is today on the committee members chart.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
We can fix that easily.
No, I didn't. Sorry? Yes, I did.
A copy of the
Yes,
last.
yeah.
R-O-B-L-E-S.
LES.
It actually is like it is here, Morales and then Robles.
Okay, so just to clarify, I'm sorry,
These are the meetings from the so that's the minute
but you
meetings
have
from
me
the
down
last
as a
meeting.
voting member, so.
This is from last meeting, so these were the people that were present last meeting. We're just approving that, yes, everything from last meeting, this is correct.
I wasn't here last meeting though.
Correct.
Just to
Me
make sure.
neither.
Okay,
We're on the same
all right.
page.
Oh, that is correct, you weren't here.
Yeah, I
All right,
wasn't aware.
No
So that is a
worries.
correction also.
We'll fix that.
Zinelli
Zena.
was not present.
Okay,
Oh, I got you. Yeah, you're on here, but you weren't here. I got you.
okay.
Hello, Miss Christina.
Hi, how are you?
Christina Morris has joined us in the meeting. We're being recorded, which is why I said that. All right. Hopefully everyone had a moment to look over the minutes. Are there any, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion approved.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Bridgeforth. Do we have a second?
No, that was,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I second.
Okay, so it's the other, Ms. Morris made the motion, Ms. Bridgeforth made the second. Discussion. Any other addition of corrections?
I just have a handout that'll come around related to the minutes, and I'll pass in both directions. And I highlighted the portions that are the most important. Comes from the Sunshine Manual, just to make everybody feel more comfortable about the process. Because minutes I know might be new to some folks, so I don't want you to feel concerned. Everything we've done complies with that. And our audio recording will be prepared and posted tomorrow after it will be edited tomorrow and posted thereafter. So for each meeting, we'll audio record, but we'll also have the basic written minutes for each meeting.
Mr. Boyd, in response to that, when you say edited, can you clarify what it means to edit?
Absolutely. If there is dead time, like at the beginning, because I started the recording early so that I wouldn't forget, we will cut that part off, but everything that contains discussion of the items, once our chair, Ms. Jackson began, will be part of that tape.
Fantastic, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Motion passed. We've already discussed the sunshine law reminder. Just remember that to be cautious whenever you are having a discussion, email or so forth with anyone else on the committee, that it doesn't appear as if you were conducting business outside of the actual official meeting. And it's to protect all of us.
Very well.
And now Ms. Andre is going to do the math adoption. And I've asked her to explain the process, how curriculum is selected within the county. And Debbie, thank you for serving on the committee.
You're welcome.
It's not an easy process, and part of it is covered in the teacher contract to ensure that the process goes the way it's supposed to. Excuse me for being not as clear on that. Andre, do you want to explain it for us, please?
Sure, while I do that, I'm gonna pass, you take one and pass it to the middle. Mr. Boyd, I have one for you.
No worries. You just let that go right around you.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I'm just sorry because this didn't copy well.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
no. You're fine.
Okay, so thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This is a really important time in our curriculum development and instruction. We are moving into new standards next year. And we did initiate the representatives from each school on November 2nd. They came together and Debbie was one of them to represent Harmony Community. And the publishers came and did presentations. And as a committee at the end of the presentations and their debrief, the committee decided on narrowing it down to finalists, and those finalist materials went to every single school. And then the teachers at the school were able to review and then submit their vote to their school representative, and then the school would send in their vote to the district for what they believe they liked.
And if I may add, any textbook except for adoption has gone through the state for approval to meet the standards that are being taught at specific grade levels. And I think, Diane, you'll agree with me that it's just not, we went out and picked whatever
No.
publishers, it
No,
goes from the state.
I've done an adoption,
Yeah.
so.
So you
Yes,
you
ma'am.
feel me right now.
Yeah, I've done language arts and, social studies
Yes.
and reading.
Awesome.
So, and the state is in the process right now of reviewing all of the submissions. So it is kind of interesting. The state's reviewing the same time the districts are reviewing and making decisions. But every publisher that we've reviewed, that any district reviews, has submitted a bid to the state. So we can't look at anything other than what's on that bid list and what they said they were going to provide. And then the state would review that. So that's just a quick synopsis of the process. And then our current state right now is we are going to make a recommendation to the school board on February 15th. And then the school board members and public can review the materials that we recommended, and then we will request an approval to purchase and adopt on March 8th at the school board meeting. But that's kind of putting the cart before the horse, because I think what's really important is to know about what our Osceola math vision is. We've worked really hard at rebranding it and really digging into what we feel is best for students and how people learn math.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Tanya, did you get a copy of the PowerPoint sent to you?
I don't believe so.
We'll work on making certain we email you one so that you have a copy.
Can you hear me okay, Tanya?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll make sure that that you get a copy of it as well. So
Thank you, I appreciate it.
we'll talk briefly about three things, and then I can answer any questions. You can ask me throughout. You can stop me. We're going to talk about what our vision is, the purpose and the goals for selecting the high-quality instructional materials for our math, and then understand why the selected materials are being recommended. And to start off, we do have math. I say we have a goal in our strategic plan for math. And it's to ensure every student receives high-quality, standards-based mathematics curriculum and instruction that is consistent across grade levels and courses throughout the district. So we are working towards that goal with our key activities. Within the math department, math teachers across the district, we're trying to really spread the word of our logo and what it means and what that vision is. And you'll see on the screen, Tanya, I apologize. I will get this to you so you can see it with your own eyes. But that is our logo. And we want students to inquire. We want to have them be inspired, and we want them to make informed decisions around math. So to really get a little bit more detailed, and Debbie, I apologize, you've seen some of these slides. To inquire, to dig a little deeper is to discover, to investigate and question, really just to grapple with that math. Inform is for students to make those informed decisions around math and using math to make decisions about their life and their future. And then to be inspired. So how can they make connections with their own world around them with the math that they're learning? And so our vision as a whole package is that we believe all students should have equitable opportunities to make sense of mathematics while engaging in high quality, coherent, standards-based curriculum. So it was really important to kind of set that stage with our representatives from each school. And moving forward, it's very important that all of our teachers, our students, staff, parents, community know that this is really what we are trying to accomplish with math. So we think about, well, what does this look like to inquire, to be informed and inspire? What does that look like in a math classroom? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? It might feel safe. It might feel like it's safe as a risk-taking. They can take risk if they're not the quote-unquote that math person. It looks like, or it sounds like a lot of discourse. They're talking. It might sound like manipulatives on the table. It sounds like people encouraging each other, maybe pushing back a little bit. Maybe, I don't understand how you got that. I got this, and this is how I did it. And what does it look like? It looks like students and teachers collaborating and working together. Can you guys think of anything else that maybe kind of popped into your head? I don't want to put Debbie on the spot because I know that she's teaching right now. What does that kind of look like in your head when you think about your kids in the classroom with math?
To me, it looks like not standing and delivering.
Yes, absolutely. Interactive. Yeah. So many of us learned math with the stand and deliver, right? We learned with the teacher telling us how to do it, and then we sat and we practiced problems all day. And then if we didn't know how to do it, we'd look in the back of the book at the odd problems, right? The odd numbers, and get the answer and then try to figure it out. And that's exactly what we don't want to see. We want to see the teachers facilitating and the kids actually grappling and doing the math and interacting with that content. So that brings us to what is part of the new standards for math, and it's the Mathematical Thinking and Reasoning Standards. And for short, we call them MTRs. So you'll hear me say MTRs, that's the Mathematical Thinking and Reasoning Standards. And if you're familiar with our old standards, we had standards for mathematical practice, we called them SMPs. The MTRs will replace those. And these MTRs really dig into what we want to see in the classroom, hear in the classroom, and feel in the classroom. And this is what we are trying to help teachers really get comfortable with, because it's not only what the teacher does, but it's what the student is doing. And there's teacher moves and student moves, and so both can hold each other accountable for what's going on in the classroom. And so one of our messages to the community I will read it because I know Tanya can't see it. We want all students in Osceola schools to be inspired by mathematics. We do this by incorporating instruction that provides opportunities for students at all levels to collaborate and communicate about the math they are learning, engage in inquiry-based activities, represent their learning using a method that makes sense to them, and make informed decisions based on mathematical ideas. Our instructional materials should support our students in engaging with relevant mathematics in these ways to be mathematically proficient. So that was the lens that we were looking through when we looked at and listened to our choices for high-quality instructional materials. So here's something that I think is really powerful. Why do we have high-quality instructional materials? Why do they matter? And this is some research that I think is so important for all stakeholders to know, that there's only 3 ways to improve student learning. You can raise the level of the content the students are taught, you can increase the skill and the knowledge that teachers bring to the teaching of that content, and you can increase the level of students' active learning of the content. That's it. Those are the 3 ways that we can really help students. So why do the materials matter is a good question. The instructional materials exercise their influence on learning directly as well as by influencing teachers' instructional choices and behavior. That makes the instructional materials all the more important. So the materials are important and what's in those materials and support for the teachers and students because it influences teacher behavior. And if we want teachers and students to use the MTRs, the mathematical thinking and reasoning standards, and grapple with the math and do the math and justify the math, then we need materials that support that behavior.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
How does that look like in an era where the kids they have an overflow of sensory activation? How can we pair that in math in the classroom?
You mean like to keep them
The
focused?
materials to keep them focused when they have their phones in the class, they have their tablets.
Yeah.
And how are these materials are gonna come alive with all these distractions?
Well, it kind of goes to what I was just saying. The materials are going to influence the behaviors. It's going to influence the instructional practices that the teachers have with the students in the classroom that will then promote that engagement that the students should be interacting
Do you have an idea of at least one thing that we can bring into the classroom that will make that happen?
Well, do you want to talk?
Okay, like for example, I'm 3rd grade, so I don't have to deal with the phones and all that nonsense. We started geometry this week.
Mhm.
So we were learning about polygons. Today we worked on quadrilaterals. So they each get a bag of shapes. And when you first get them out, especially in the group, when you have the particular group, because I team teach, when you have the group that is, so you just kind of get them out and then you kind of give them about a minute or 2 because we're gonna be moving, they're gonna be screaming, they're gonna be yelling, they're gonna be stacking them up. And so you kind of give them a minute or 2 to get all of that excitement out. And then it's like, okay, I wanted them to keep 5 shapes out of the bag. And I go, okay, everybody grab the red one because they happen to be different shapes and I wasn't giving them the names of the shape because we were going to put them in a tree, describing them, and we were gonna classify them and talk about the names. So I would say, everybody get your blue one, put it here. So we kept the 6 I wanted them to keep. Okay, the rest of them have to go back in your bag. So then they would put them back in the bag. And just the fact that they have something, when normally it's nothing but a pencil and writing, when they have something and everybody get it, okay, hold it up, then everybody's participating.
And that's exactly what I
So,
wanted to know.
Yeah, so if every 20 or 30 seconds, you're either asking them to respond or you're asking who knows the answer and giving them time to, the majority of them will eventually raise their hand. You always have the 1 or 2 that's always gonna, so you wait, you do that wait time, it's a strategy to give them all a second to think, and the majority of them will raise their hand. And then, you're constantly working. So you're walking around and you still have that 1 or 2 and go, okay, well, we're gonna do like kindergarten, we're gonna put all these back in your bag and Miss Mann's gonna keep them and I stick them in my little apron and you have your 6 now. So
It's a constant
And with-
monitoring process.
And with the high school students with their phones,
But,
I taught intensive reading, their
Oh, it
phones
is.
were on their desk, face down.
the
And
nice,
if they were staring at their laps, I'd say, put your phone on your desk.
Yeah.
It's a lot of classroom management, the
it
teachers
is
need
a lot
to
of
know.
classroom management, and the nice thing is so many, even at third grade, they spend most of their time on Netflix, YouTube, games, whatever. When they actually get something in their
Touch.
hand to
Yes.
touch, it is engaging.
I think you gave me the perfect example,
Because I
because that's
can't-
what I was looking for.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many of them don't put puzzles together
Yeah.
anymore.
Kids don't
Don't-
play with things anymore.
They don't play with
All
things
right.
anymore.
Let's go on with the rest of the
It's
presentation,
always a
please.
screen.
Yeah, thank you for that example, absolutely. Okay, so our math, high quality instructional materials, these were the big buckets that we were looking for to make sure that what we recommend has. Of course, they have to be aligned to our new standards. That's a given, right? It should have a coherent sequencing of mathematical ideas, not only horizontally, like within the grade level, so within third grade, but also vertically. So it needs to be coherent, so what they learned in kinder, first, second, third, all the way through. And not only just by grade as a whole, but by domains and benchmarks throughout. Okay, so that there's really this good coherence of the learning. It engages all students in tasks that promote problem solving and reasoning to make sense of new math ideas that's related to the depth of the benchmark. And that would go with Debbie's example with the manipulatives, right? We need to really make use of those manipulatives. It engages all students in meaningful mathematical discussions or discourse. We talked about that earlier. And it builds fluency with procedures on a foundation of conceptual understanding, which is really, really important. It's not like how we used to be, where I'm gonna teach you all the steps and you memorize them and then just do it, which is how we all learned. We're trying to really help those kids with that conceptual understanding. So our recommended materials, our publisher that we're recommending for our elementary, middle, and what we call the high school suite, AGA, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, is McGraw-Hill. And in these materials, these are some highlights that I wanted to point out as to why we feel this is what's best for our students and teachers and community. The materials have components within that motivate students and can elevate the learning. There's a print and digital experience that's very easily integrated into Canvas, which is our LMS that we're working towards going district-wide for our students and teachers.
Excuse me, would you explain that?
Canvas?
LMS.
LMS.
Oh, a learning management system. It's where we can put our content in a digital format where students can interact with it, and then it acts as like a grade book for the teacher and student. It'll pass to our internal system to keep the grades. It allows for meetings to happen where we would put Teams. We currently use Teams, but Teams would be embedded into Canvas. It's essentially a virtual classroom that our content would integrate into. So it's kind of, we have ebooks, digital books, but now we have more of a classroom platform for better interaction.
Like if you open your web page on your computer and you have icons for favorites, that's what the kids do now. They double click on, we use ClassLink, and when they click on it and open it up, their math, they have an icon for math, they have an icon for AR, so they can go in and take AR tests on the books they read, they have a reading program. Everything that they have access to, K through 12, even their parents to be able to look at their grade book, they click on it, and it's an app.
But that's a
And
good
they
question.
really don't access anything not going through ClassLink, so that way we know it's secure and.
Every child has a tablet.
Tablet or
Or
laptop.
laptop.
Or laptop.
that as it's going on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling her.
Yes, like I have an app on mine, I click on it, and when I click on that, I can see every one of my students, even if they're not in my room, I can see their computer screen.
So there's no books?
No, there
there's
will
some
be.
books.
There are still
There will
books.
be.
There are still books.
We won't do away with
But
that.
the nice
Okay,
thing is,
'cause
if it's book and digital, they
Yeah.
work with the book in the class, but if for some reason they're out sick, you know,
Yeah.
we've got COVID going on, they quarantine or whatever, then they, they can go on the digital component and not have to
Yeah, it's been a name.
Well, and one of the benefits, or positives with this digital experience and integrating into Canvas, with math, you know, we want the kids to inquire. We want them to explore and discover, and there's, using the tools digitally versus, you know, YouTube and such. There's, embedded lessons and activities for the students to really inquire with the math digitally as well.
How does this affect the homework? Or is the homework digital also?
It can be. There's gonna be both options.
But we still have.
We
like,
will
I send
not
paper
eliminate
home
print.
today.
We will not eliminate print,
God.
paper right now, no. No.
How about that
Good
paper
questions.
is a
Yeah.
big budget.
Guys, can we let her finish the presentation then ask questions, cause we,
Are we
I'm
running
trying
out
to
of time? I'll
honor
go
your
fast.
time.
I'm almost done.
Thank you.
We have differentiation resources that are built in as a component to the materials. There's personalized adaptive instruction, which means that there's a computer component to it that will adapt to where the student is ready to learn and then provide scaffolds and lessons for the student on a computer. They have mathematical language routines built into the lessons for the teacher to highlight with their students. There's SAT and ACT prep resources for our high school students in upper math. And there's also really great collaborative prompts for the teachers. So it's a great support for the teacher if they don't have as much confidence in getting the kids to collaborate, to help them. And then the biggest highlight I wanted to share is the lesson structure. And because we're recommending this for elementary, middle, and our high school suite, we're gonna have this great consistency, and the lesson structure is the same throughout the grade bands, where you have a launch, an explore, and develop, which would go with our inquiring. We have reflect and practice, and then differentiate. And that's broken up for the teacher to help with the planning and then to execute with the students, which also aligns to our MTRs, where you're exploring, you launch it, explore, and it will complement what we're working towards with the 7 mathematical thinking and reasoning standards.
and this one is a big thing.
This next one right here?
Yeah.
So here's where you can find them. I've already put the physical books out for public review. They're also available online. If you go to our homepage, which is osceolaschools.net, and select instructional materials, which is that really beautiful pink circle, select that on our homepage. It'll take you to a webpage for instructional materials, and there is a table on that webpage that I've snipped right here on the left that will give you the digital access, so you can look at it on your own on your computer. But if you want a physical book to finger through, it's at the MITD room, Media Instructional
It's the next building over.
Right, the big white building next door.
Technology Department, yes. Okay, and that's just to remind you that this is our logo and our vision and what we want to have our students work with. Yay!
Good evening.
Good evening.
And Mr. Mohammed has joined our meeting.
So,
Well,
At 5:28,
so question.
Madam Secretary,
Good evening.
can I join you?
I'm sorry, who was speaking? Christina, was it you?
Christina, yeah.
I just had a question. So it seems like a pretty tight timeline, February and then March for approval. What are you doing to get the teachers up to speed with this new, like my daughter can work my phone and tell me 10,000 extra steps that I never knew was in there versus
So,
I'm just like, it works, it can call out and she'll say, yeah, but you can do this, this,
Yeah,
and this. So
right.
I'm sure.
We will have an implementation plan, an implementation rollout plan for our educators once we know and have an approval to adopt. And that will start in the summer, where teachers can, it's not mandatory, they can come and be paid to come and learn about the materials, and then we'll continue through first quarter.
So this actually rolls out the new school year?
Correct,
not
we
this-
will
okay.
not be, no, we will not use
Okay.
them
And
until
Daniel?
August.
Give me a few moments. I want to be cognitive of everybody's time here, because we still have the goals to go over. Ms. Jurgens, thank you so much for your presentation. I have one or maybe two, maybe three questions. So I see your title there, K through 12 Mathematics Coordinator. I was a substitute teacher here at the school district for about 2 years, and I primarily subbed at high schools. A big thing that I saw in the upper classroom high schoolers, either you have the students that are very much involved in their mathematics, and then you have the students that are failing, need credit recovery.
Yeah.
The recurring comments that I would hear usually the junior seniors was, why do I need to learn this? How am I gonna use this in real life? I've had one comment that resonates with me still till this day. I had a senior tell me, I'm not learning the same math that they're teaching at Neo City. They're probably gonna go save the world. That's what the kid told me. And it still resonates with me because I had seniors that basically, they didn't know what they wanted to do after high school. And I'm a big proponent of go to college, go get a technical degree. I see here in the materials that we have for K through 12 that we have SAT and ACT preparatory material, but do we offer, for example, ASVAB as a preparatory material for people that might want to go to the military afterwards? Do we have PERT material as well? Can you answer that?
Well, we don't have PERT material built in. That's not offered in these materials.
Okay.
Okay, but for ASVAB and for PERT, we do have resources that our department provide
Okay.
for educators to support students who need it. For the SAT and ACT resources, we also provide support for students who maybe not are looking for an SAT score to go to Yale, but are looking for an SAT score to graduate. So, there's two different goals, but still the same purpose. So we do provide resources, but these materials do not have a PERT or ASVAB.
Okay, so to follow up with that, we have Valencia College, which is a huge partner here in
Yes.
the community for Osceola County. They just require a PERT, and that's basically when it comes to college readiness and competence. Is this something that is being advertised at those higher grade levels to the students?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
And until this year, PERT was actually a graduation concordant, so we call it, we're PERTing the kids. We're PERTing.
No,
That's
and you
good.
said the ASVAB material is also something that's a resource that we can provide to students as well. Because I know we have ROTC programs at almost
Yes.
all our schools.
We can align we align the resources, or the current resources that we have, we align to what they need so they can pass whatever test or assessment they're looking to score on.
Okay. One last comment, Madam Chair, that's fine. Another thing that I would see in high schools was I would have students, of course, they have the apps that help them, and they have to show their work some way, shape, or form. I know students that pay for these apps that, it shows me how to do the work, but there are students that truly do the work.
Yes.
And they might think differently than other students.
Yes.
They might have a completely different way to get to the same answer. I want to make sure that these students are not being penalized for not doing it the way the teacher taught. As long as they get to the same answer, they still get credit. Is that something that's
implemented in the new standard.
Before I
That's
answer,
the
go
new
ahead,
standard.
Debbie.
yeah.
That, it is implemented into the new standards, which I like,
Okay.
because I know everybody hates, for some reason, Common Core got this bad rap, and people make up these bizarre things and they go out on social media about Common Core. I have never given a student a problem about taking a train and how many chickens and, they lost 2 hamsters and what happened to the laundry that you see on Facebook. It's ridiculous. Common Core stated that exactly what you want. I just want you to be able to get the answer. You 4 might get the answer a different way, and as long as you get the answer, I want you to use whatever strategy works for you.
Yeah.
The curriculum companies took that and said, okay, this day we're gonna teach this strategy. Day 2, we're gonna teach the next strategy, which might be your favorite. Day 3, we're gonna teach the one that might be her favorite. Day 4, and then we're gonna give you a test, and you have to prove that you can do all 4 strategies. Which, as a teacher, I would go through in my test before I made copies, and I would and I would make the copies, and when I teach my kids, I go, listen, we're gonna learn a bunch of strategies. I'm gonna expose them to them. I want you to find the one that works best for you, and I want you to use it. If you can consistently and fluently get the right answer, that's your strategy. That may change. A year from now, you may pick a different one, but what works best for you. I don't care what that sentence says. I want you to use whatever strategy is best for you. I tell my 3rd graders once or twice a week, listen, you're not gonna grow up and get a job doing math problems, because if you could, Miss Mann would have it. Right now, I'd be making lots of money and I'd be loving life. You learn this because one day you're either gonna be a parent and you're gonna have to pay your bills, and you're gonna have to get a job, and you're gonna have to know how to manage your money, and you might have a birthday party for your, cause at ours, we're doing multiplication and simple whatever, and you might have a birthday party for your child, and you may need to know how many juice boxes, or you may be a truck driver, and you may be on a trip, and you know how long that trip is and how many miles you've already been, so how many more you need to go. So I relate that to whether you are a scientist or a truck driver or a cashier or whatever, but to me, that is a shortcoming of a teacher and not the curriculum.
So to respond to that, I agree with you, of course. Simple math between elementary, middle school, you should know the bare essentials. You should know your algebra. But what do you say to this senior that says, what am I gonna use the quadratic formula for in real life? What are we doing?
I said that. Hey, I can tell him right now, you're not gonna use it for a darn thing, because I went all the way to trigonometry, and then went all through college, never used it again, have never seen it again, and probably couldn't do it today.
Truth tables.
So,
I just did truth tables with my granddaughter.
Yeah.
I am 65 years old and I have never used a truth table, and they're still teaching truth tables.
I
would
don't know
say
why, I
that-
think it's ridiculous. I
Mr.
think after a certain point, they should let them
Mr.
go
Lopez,
move
I
on to
think,
something else.
I mean, there are graduation requirements, and the
Of course.
quadratic formula is on there. But I would say that we don't wanna limit anybody's access to their future, and they might be 18 thinking they know what they wanna do when they're 40, but I'm almost 50 and I still don't know exactly what I wanna do, like I do need the quadratic formula in my job, but I had to learn something in language arts that I'm never gonna need this, but I'm gonna go get my doctorate and I'm gonna need it.
that's
So
what
that
I-
would be my response to them.
And the
Okay, guys,
new
I hate to be
standards
rude, but
are
can
better.
we move the agenda?
I just wanna
Okay.
ask about is there gonna be any change for calc and stats?
The state is changing all the standards for
Right,
province
but-
stats and for calculus, but AP stats and AP calc, no.
Okay, what about regs? Is it you only have AP?
We only have AP
Okay.
calc and AP stats.
Okay.
But there is a new course for statistics called Math for College Statistics.
Okay.
That's a brand new course.
And Adianese has a
A quick
question.
question.
Yes.
Are we considering at all adding for juniors and seniors a finance class in math?
So there is a new
Statewide.
course,
Finance literacy, in the sense of they understand it, there's.
Yes.
well, there's a new course,
You go right ahead.
Mhm.
You're just fine.
And the
There,
state
there's a
will-
new course called Math for Data and Financial Literacy, which is pure math standards, and it's brand new, and we're writing it now. We're developing it right now for our teachers next year. But there is a personal finance course, that's an econ course that is not considered a math course, it is not a math credit, it's a social science credit.
Yeah.
Those are the two that,
And let me expand, we did teach that in Osceola County. And then when they came through with the new standards, the Department of Education eliminated that course. It's called financial literacy. And I'm sure Diane can tell you, we had a financial literacy course that was permitted to be taught. The state eliminated it. And now the state's saying, well, we need to teach this again.
How can we get it?
Yep.
But why don't
These-
you explain to the people that aren't familiar what math courses are required to graduate
algebra and geometry, and then 2 more credits
in math?
in
Those
math.
are-
Right,
those
so
are
you have to have
elective.
4 years
Yes.
of math. I think
The
that
other two
that's
are
what
Elective math courses.
Yeah.
what
Two
you're
required, 2
missing
electives.
is
The personal finance is not a math
it's
credit.
not a math credit, and
Oh,
so
How can we
so-
get it in there?
It was.
should be.
It was.
No,
No,
we're gonna
no.
have a new course, it's the Math for Data and Financial Literacy,
Can
and
we name it something else that sounds
No.
attractive to the students?
Add on.
No, they'll
No,
take
we
it.
Show me the
cannot.
money.
Yeah.
we are bound to the state course
So you have,
directory.
by state,
You
by
have
statute, you have to
titles.
title it that?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
How can we get it back into the math?
There's,
It's
It
coming
will
back.
be.
It
It's
is,
coming.
it is coming back.
It's
And-
coming.
And these standards are much better than the ones, they
Oh,
are doing
before.
exactly what you
Okay.
want.
And
They're
yeah,
not
they are better than
pigeonholing
the
them,
And the other thing,
solve it how you
with,
want and
with
get
the,
the
with the
answer.
math classes,
Thank you.
children who don't wanna take, pre-calc or calc will jump on taking the financial literacy class.
And then they will understand the other.
because they
two.
have to have some.
Cause they have to have the
Oh,
4
okay.
credits in math.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
That
Thank
finance,
you.
excuse me,
And
the
please make
finance,
sure,
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I didn't see you
The
back there.
finance, that the young lady spoke about, the kids would not be accredited for that, is that what I understand?
Yes.
The personal finance course that's
Yeah.
in the course directory is not a math credit.
It's not like that.
But,
It's
no,
econ.
it's a social
Oh.
science credit.
Okay.
But the course that new course with the new standards is a math course.
Is a math.
Is a
Credit.
math.
Yes,
Okay.
it is a very rigorous math course.
And before
Great.
we go on, I would just like to, John, to request this of you, in the future, if someone has to call in, can we make sure that they are provided the
Yes,
materials electronically prior to the meeting?
yes.
Does that work for you, Tanya? Tanya?
Tanya,
Yes,
Okay,
with reasonable notice, please let
yes,
us know.
for
Yes.
sure.
all right. John, do we need to vote on this, or we were just being given this information to
This
review?
was just an
Informational.
information item, and I wanted to say, for the sake of time, the board did at the meeting mention to us about the resolution. They want feedback and input from this committee related to the resolution, and it's actually on the agenda after the committee goals. And at your direction, Madam Chair,
I
because of
think we should
time,
review that.
yeah, I think, I was
So we'll go out of
thinking
order.
we probably should move that up. I'm gonna give you a copy.
And the
Oh,
resolution is what the
okay.
board is discussing about the
Yeah.
critical race
I was
theory
like,
I'm gonna
curriculum.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a couple of things.
My personal opinion is, I need clarification from the state what they consider to be part of the critical race curriculum, because not everything that's in state statute is clear. I mean, and John's giving us a copy of it. I know as a classroom teacher who taught high school,
Like I'm back in school.
I don't wanna teach something that I'm not supposed to teach, but if it doesn't tell me that I'm not
Keep my
supposed to teach
committees
it,
informed.
I don't know what to say. It's all an opinion.
You're welcome.
So I think we need a little more guidelines from the Department of Education
Have those yet.
as to what is
Find out
included and what is
those.
not from them.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Andrea.
you. So real quick question.
Yes.
So
Yes,
from what
Christine.
I read, it's like against the law basically in Florida to teach it. So what is the purpose of this particular?
Good question.
It's established.
What school boards will do from time to time to make a personal, or not a personal, I shouldn't say it that way, to make a public formal statement of their position as a body
Okay.
on different topics, and this would be one of them. And so, let me back up just a little bit and explain, because of my other hat with rulemaking.
Okay.
Oftentimes, a statute can be passed, or a state board of education rule is a law. And sometimes they may or may not direct school boards to create policy. In this case, when they passed the rule that I gave you a copy of as one of the 3 handouts I just passed out, they didn't direct schools to create their own policy on it, because basically that's the rule. You do it or you're in trouble. So they did pass that rule with that intent. Now our board, 2 board members introduced this resolution and want input and feedback from this committee related to the resolution. I don't wanna insult your intelligence or anything, but would you like me to read it aloud or just go over parts of it?
If you could
John,
go
Go over parts of.
Parts, I think.
parts of it, yeah,
Parts.
because
Because
I'm
some of
reading,
it is like,
Yeah.
Certainly. But-
especially with the vendor, I have a question about that.
Absolutely. Well, first, let's do this. If you look at the highlighted sheet, that's the rule, that in yellow, that's the specific piece that last summer, the State Board of Education changed in state board rule. The original version that they were going to pass was vague, and this is much more specific. Even though it still leaves some questions, I just want to point out and give them the credit they're due, that I was grateful that they actually defined critical race theory, and they were very specific about the 1619 project. Whether people are for or against it, that is in the rule, and it's not something that is supposed to be taught in Florida. I've read the materials myself, and I have my own questions, but, and there's good and bad depending on how you look at it. The point is that that rule and that yellow highlight is what has brought us to the resolution, because in the resolution, what it is attempting to do is to make clear for our employees the board's stance on this policy, and also to clarify different points that are also echoing exactly what's in that rule, and to also state our expectations for vendors and teachers. And I'll explain more in a moment. The other thing I wanted to do for you is in the resolution, the other handout I gave you that's the finer print is the actual statute for what's called required instruction. And the only citation in the resolution is number 2, which is the one that lists all of the topics of required instruction, from the Holocaust mandate to African American contributions, women's contributions, Hispanic contributions, and everything else you see enumerated there that I didn't list for the sake of time. So that's where that is. So if you see that cited in this resolution, I didn't want you to feel like you were making decisions or questioning something that you didn't have all the information on. So, that being said, instead of reading it line by line, I'll direct you to page 2. I think that's the one that's the clearest. The whereas comments establish the philosophy and also outline specifically references to the 2 handouts I just mentioned to you that are basically state law. Now on page 2, number 1 says, no teaching of students and or training of teachers and staff shall involve content in writing, verbally, or electronically that violates the state law that I gave you a copy of or the state board rule that I gave you a copy of. And then number 2, the superintendent shall within 10 days of the date of this resolution provide a copy of the resolution and the laws and the expectations, I'm paraphrasing, for all our employees. And I already have a strategy in place for that for the coming year. The employee orientation that every employee does, we would add some information in there specific to that under professional ethics. So it doesn't really take much more time, but it notifies the employees so they
And
know
just for
it.
clarification, if a teacher signs that they finished the orientation but didn't bother to look at it, that doesn't excuse them.
Okay.
Because once they say, I've read it, whether they have or have not, legally, they have read it.
Right.
Yep.
And I will tell you up front, a lot of teachers just click, 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 click.
And I have videos that actually support the written guide that goes with the orientation that actually are like a read-along storybook record. So if we have an employee that works, say, in transportation or food service that doesn't have a high reading level, we don't have to worry about that because they get a verbal explanation. So I always add that. Daniel?
John, a quick question, in terms of the language of the statute, I know the statute is the statute, but it could be vague in interpretation when a teacher reads it, so they might need further clarification.
That's what the orientation tab does.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the very first line, it says, may not suppress or distort significant historical events. Now, how do they define distort some teachers might not be so educated on one topic, even though they're certified to teach it. They might wanna put their perspective in it, and I know they can't have a bias, but they can, I don't wanna say have an opinion, because they're not allowed to have an opinion. Am I correct in saying that?
You're fine. Go right ahead. You're giving me the feedback that I will
So my
share more.
biggest concern is a student might come and say, you're suppressing me, and the teacher might not know how to respond to that because she might not have all the information on a specific date or an event that might have happened. So we wanna make sure that we're also protecting our teachers, and that's my biggest thing in regards to this language. I know it's a statute, it's a statute.
Now, I understand what you're saying.
And Daniel, in that process, Diane, I was president of Teachers Union for a very long time. There is a process in place where if an allegation such as that is made against the teacher is notified in writing that the allegation has been made from them and an investigation will take place.
Okay.
No action goes against the teacher until a complete investigation is finished. Because there are a lot of times, I'll just use an ex-family member of mine got in trouble often for violating something similar to this.
Okay.
And he would be notified in writing, a complaint was made that you were saying that, I'm just making this up, that children of Muslim faith are evil. The complaint was made. They did the investigation. While the investigation is going on, depending upon the severity of the investigation, the teacher is reassigned to transportation away from children until a non-school level investigator talks to all parties concerned, and they meet with the HR director, and the determination is they were bad, they shouldn't have done that, they can be terminated, they can be given verbal reprimand. There's a whole lists of disciplinary actions that can be taken against the teacher, but nothing happens to the teacher until the process is finished. And there can be no vindictive actions from the employee against the child.
No.
And they don't
Is-
normally tell them what child filed the complaint.
Right, is there not a process, say in August, when everybody comes back? Because I think of new teachers, and new teachers don't know how to respond to some of these things.
Correct.
And so is there not a process in place for, in part of your training at the
Yes, ma'am.
beginning of the year that
Yes.
you
The
say,
order-
if you come, because my thing is, if I'm a brand new teacher especially, I think this happens more with brand new teachers, and somebody comes up to me and says something that I don't know about or I feel uncomfortable with, what do I do?
Right.
They do cover
And-
that in the new teacher orientation. There's a 3-day new teacher orientation
Okay.
before there's even pre-planning, and then in the
Right.
teacher's pre-planning, depending upon the school, they will cover it.
And
I think, yeah, thank you.
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
go
yes,
ahead.
ma'am.
I think that because Osceola County has such a rich cultural environment, we are unique in the nation, let me tell you
I
this.
think
Yes,
so.
yes.
Yes.
Our county
Mhm.
stands above the nation, and we have a melting pot. I think it's very important that with new teachers and teachers that are flooding from California, from the north, that
Yes,
this
ma'am.
training is very thorough, because I have the same concern that he does.
So
It is, I've
that's
sat
what I
through
was
it.
gonna say, like, when we're doing these
Yeah,
kinda
right.
no teaching 1, 2, 3, like, I didn't see instill political views on like that page, cause that to me, I personally had issues
That's
with
in the
my
contract.
child.
It's in the teacher contract.
No, but
It's
I
not like we're
mean,
indoctrinating them, it's.
Well, let me clarify.
I'm talking about like right here in this
Yeah.
resolution, just make it clear that no political
Sure.
views, because they signed a contract and my child has had a terrible experience in that exact thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if we're doing
Got it.
this in good faith effort and we're doing a whole
So I'll take
resolution.
notes to try and bring that forward.
Yeah, I apologize because on page 1, the fourth whereas addresses the indoctrination thing that you're concerned about. So what the board would do if they
Okay.
do pass the resolution is that every teacher would get a copy of the resolution. They would also get a copy of everything I just shared with you.
Okay.
There would be an annual reminder that'll be in the orientation form that's electronic. There will be meetings with new teachers that are orientation trainings. And then there will be pre-planning for teachers where this would be addressed. And we also, even at the beginning of this school year during pre-planning, shared a document with social studies teachers and some language arts teachers called How to Address Sensitive Content, because we knew that rulemaking and such was gonna go on. And actually, at that point, we already had the rule that was passed in June, and they got a copy of that in part, and then Dr. Pace sent an email about it to everybody. So this won't be new to them entirely,
Okay.
but the piece that you were asking about specifically is listed as a whereas, but it also is in the actual rule that they're gonna get a copy of and will be highlighted for them.
Okay, Debbie?
Yeah, because at the beginning of the school year, because I met with Dr. Pace before school started, because I'd heard about some things. And so the Friday before school started on that Monday, there was an email that went out. And it included the statute in it, and I think probably this highlighted part.
Okay.
And it gave the state statute and everything.
Yes,
Well, a
ma'am.
lot of people see the email, oh, I don't teach history, they delete it or whatever. I think that another reason for the resolution is to let teachers know we're serious about this in our district, because some of them are doing things that they know they're not supposed to do, including the political views, like you
Any
said.
teacher that's not teaching history, he's not a history
That's
class.
right, that's
Okay.
right,
And
because
Christina,
I-
I'll talk to you about
I
that
did not
after,
go to
what
school-
steps you need to
Yeah.
take.
I didn't go to school for education.
No, it was taken care of
Okay.
swiftly, and
Yeah.
I was impressed with the school board, so that
Okay,
But
was
we're
not
told
it,
in our
but-
ethics the beginning of every year not to do
Yeah.
that, and some were still doing it. So
Yeah.
this is kind of,
Okay.
don't do it, this is what's gonna happen to
Okay,
you if you
Debbie
do.
or Daniel?
Good
All
deal.
right.
Thank you.
I'll wrap this up so we can get to
Sorry.
the resolution. John,
Yes, sir.
I want the school board to have full faith and confidence in this committee. With something as controversial as the topic that's in front of us today and the language, we need to make sure that the teachers, they just don't take this and they sign it.
Exactly.
If they don't take this and they just sign it, is there a way that every single employee of the school district, they can log on the portal and say, or whoever needs to take it, I don't know if the administrator in the front needs to take the critical race theory, but some sort of competencies, examination, I don't wanna say examination, let's just say scenario-based question. Let's say I give you 10 questions, Mr. Lopez in 12th grade, he signed, he took the test, he got 8 out of 10, he passed. It covers the school district in the sense saying, yes, Mr. Lopez did sign the paper and he took this competency test,
Yeah.
scenario-based
Won't your
competency
program do
test.
that?
Cause we do it with the
Yeah.
technology and the
Yeah.
Yeah, they
ethics
do
and
it, but
all
I
this.
will also add that one teacher will do it, print out the questions and hand it to their buddies.
Right,
Oh,
well,
God.
what we will do,
It's
just,
cheating, just like they get on the kids, but they do it, I'm just
Wow.
telling you, I know
But-
people that get caught doing it.
But
It
your
covers-
rear end is covered.
We need
It
to pay more
covers-
money.
The school district, if the event somebody does violate this statute, the school district can then say, this teacher signed this paper and took a competency test, they knew better.
I have to qualify one thing.
Yes, sir.
The employee orientation is a training. When we typically will have a test with a training, there's points assigned, and there's no points assigned for routine training. So there won't be a test, but there will be an acknowledgement they have to check off on,
Okay.
and there'll be a video that specifically bullets the important things there.
And this is
without
individual,
shout-outs.
this isn't a
It's
classroom-based,
individual.
so
We
they
all
can,
have to do it
individual.
individually.
okay, but
Yeah.
I just need to make sure that
And it
there's
shows the
something that
amount
we
of
can
time
implement
that
like
you've
that
on
for
the
this.
video.
Yeah, what'll happen in the orientation, there'll be a module they'll sign off on, and at the very end, there's an acknowledgement they also sign off on, and it will not let them proceed unless they sign off on individual modules.
My,
And
So-
watch the entire video.
and my only thing is just
That's a,
Comp-
that's acknowledgement.
Yes, sir.
It
It
is
is
an
an
acknowledgement.
acknowledgement, but my thing is competency. Did you understand the
Did you get
scenario?
it?
That is part 2. You
Okay.
have to start with awareness, what this, the orientation is for, and then we're gonna have the additional trainings that will deal with the competencies. And we're also gonna have to train our administrators so they understand when they need to report a complaint, if there is one related to it. So we'll be training the administrators, we'll be training the employees also, cause
Not
this
just
will be
teachers, it's all
all, this will be all employees.
All
Right.
employees. that's
All
what I mean.
employees.
Not just history
So this
teachers.
is not
Right.
just, not just new employees.
No, ma'am.
Oh,
This
Everybody.
resolution,
It'll be
the
All
whole
right.
district.
And the rest of this resolution I have to highlight is that this would be annual. So they'll get an annual reminder every year, just like the orientation. But the competency piece will be addressed in professional development after the orientation.
Okay.
So they're gonna get both. They're gonna get more than what you asked
I
for.
just want the school board to know that this committee did discuss that.
Last
Yes, sir.
Question for you.
All right, Adianice is first.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Denise.
what about the publishers? When we come together and we have the training and we have everything set, but they do a revamp or a revision on the books, who's gonna be in charge of looking
Okay,
that not one sentence was changed in page 102?
Diane could probably answer this too. Any curriculum that's used has to be approved by the state.
Okay.
And the
Can't
state,
change.
they can't change it.
Okay.
Oh,
It has to be approved by the state. Now, sometimes we have other outside vendors that aren't state approved, such as Core Connections.
Mm-hmm.
And that falls on the district. If the district is responsible for reviewing the materials, if we don't go with a state adopted curriculum, then it is on the district to make certain that the materials that are being
Right.
used are not in violation of this. And I think there's gonna be a lot more scrutiny coming. Some of it'll come to us as the committee,
Mhm.
and some will go to the curriculum department, because there was one, I know for certain, a cartoon in Core Connections that was very controversial, that should not have been a part of the curriculum, especially for the age level that it was for.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
And so that's how it's gonna work. And Christina, you had another question?
Pass this up.
how do you do, so we have the teachers taken care of, but in this resolution, it also talks about all contracts entered
And the
into.
vendors.
And the vendors, how do you
Sure.
do that?
That will actually be a
Seems a
part
little
of the
tricky.
template for the actual written contract. In order to do business in our county, they would
You
have to
acknowledge.
acknowledge that by when they sign the contract. They won't be able to do business with us unless they agree
There's
to
so
it.
much paper.
And that's not really necessarily our district's directive, that's coming from the State Board of Education.
All
That's
right.
good.
It will be part of our resolution, and we're taking it a step further, but
All right,
That's
so
where
do
it's
we have a
going.
motion to recommend approval of this by the school board?
I make a motion.
Daniel made the motion,
Second.
second Diane. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have some.
Yes, Ms. Briggs.
The question is, first of all, last week, we were told that this was not a secondary issue. Critical race theory was not public school issue, it was higher level, that's what the attorney told us last week.
Correct.
And now today, you're asking us to make a resolution, I don't get it.
That's what I was.
Okay.
I don't
Sure.
get this.
Here's the
Alex.
problem. The state said that it is an issue. Whether we agree or disagree, whether it's an issue, according to the state of Florida's Department of Education, at this point in time, it is an issue.
That's the state board rule.
That's the
part,
state board rule.
And it's K-12.
Okay,
Even though-
but here's the problem.
Mhm.
Here's the problem. We come in last week, we say, oh, here's a new committee. Critical race theory is post-secondary education, and I agree with that. Okay? So, but, and we're gonna set goals. First of all, there's no mission statement as to what this committee is supposed to do. There are no parameters, and now this is in front of us, the second meeting.
And,
And that came
I
from the
have some
school board.
heartburn with this.
and I want to respond so that you feel a little bit better about it, because I'm the one who changed the order of the items so we didn't run out of time. When we were.
Well,
when
it
we were-
doesn't matter about the order, I would still have.
Well, yeah, well,
That
The
doesn't
point I'm
matter.
about to make though does matter for order, because if you look in this handout that was gonna support the goals discussion, the highlighted part on the second page is the whole purpose of this committee, to provide public input on matters related to curriculum, including the curriculum adoption process, ed reports, curriculum unit plan review, and curriculum objection process. And that's what the whole purpose of the committee is. And part of those processes now, because of the state board rule that was passed in the summer, is that there is a prohibition on the teaching of critical race theory K-12.
So that was it.
Okay,
that's
Debbie's
what the-
next. Debbie's next.
Yeah,
I got you,
I
Christina.
think too, the confusion comes in because Mr. Kruppenbacher mentioned critical race theory and he said it doesn't happen here, it's at the college level. It is a college level social, I don't know the exact term, course, it is a school of thought at the college level. But the issue that they were having at the local level was tenets of that or tendrils from that were working its way in. And this doesn't even specifically say the term critical race theory
Nope.
in the resolution. It just says that you need to be factual and you need to not give your opinions. You need to stick to historical fact and truth.
And is that not already, I thought I read it in
Wait
my.
a minute, we have a
Yes.
speaking order.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So, before we continue,
I know, I'm like, I thought I read it.
I know we've already got a motion with a second on the table. I'd like to make a second motion, if we could vote on this first. Let us make a motion to extend the time, because our current motion last meeting was to only have this meeting till 6. Madam Chair, I make a motion to extend this meeting until the end of the agenda as time permits, or as time needed.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, okay.
All in favor?
Okay, who was the second?
There she goes.
Nelly.
Nelly, okay.
Nelly.
So I have a motion by Daniel and a second by Nelly to extend the time as needed to complete the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? We are. Okay,
Thank you.
Christina, you are next.
I think it just goes back to what she was just saying. I'm confused. It says it's prohibited. Everything I read before says it's prohibited. And now, today, we have a resolution, which, my apologies if it was attached in the email. I did not
No,
read it.
It was not,
But it's a little quick to read it on the fly and get it approved and understand why we're doing this
let me be
if it was
clear.
approved in the summer.
I have to be clear about two things. First, you originally asked me a question that I didn't completely answer, and I apologize.
No worries.
This resolution is in addition to the state board that already has set the requirement. And this resolution is something that our board will be voting on. They were really looking more for us to have input and feedback, not necessarily approval of the resolution.
Okay, got
The
it.
committee can approve it if they choose, is if the majority approve, if they want to do that. But it doesn't stop the board from being able to take the resolution and vote on it, because really, they're only our role as the advisory committee is we give them the feedback and input. We don't have the authority to pass the resolution. So
Right.
please don't feel
Thank
like
you.
you're approving something that becomes policy and you're a policymaker. You're an advisor in that sense for this specific instance.
And we could
So
always,
why are we voting?
well, we could always
Right.
tell the
Right.
school board,
Exactly.
we could always tell the school board
I say
that
nod
we chose
or
not
no.
to approve or disapprove the resolution. That's always an option, but the motion, do we have a motion on the floor to
The
approve?
motion has been made, it was seconded by
I kind of
Diane.
agree. If we don't have to
No,
vote on
Nelly?
it, then we
Nelly.
don't.
No,
It's
so
a-
I thought,
Last discussion, I guess before we vote, if I could say something, Madam Chair.
mhm.
John,
Yes, sir.
this resolution has Chairwoman Castillo's name at the end of it. Was this drafted by Chairwoman Castillo, or was this drafted by staff?
This was drafted by the school board attorney. Now, if the majority of the board votes on it, then whether Ms. Castillo voted for or against, as the chair, she signs in that role of
Yeah.
chair.
Understood. Now, to follow up with that, you perfectly described it, John. This is a proactive measure. That's how I see this. This is our recommendation to the school board saying, yes, everything in this document, this resolution states we agree with you. We recommend you adopt this. Now, how we feel about it, again, we're just an advisory committee. Like
Right.
John said, we are not the rule makers here. That's why they're elected and we're not. We're appointed. So, Madam Chair, I made the motion to approve this resolution, that it go before the school board.
We're not so we're not approving it. We just said we don't have any
It's a
issues
precedent.
with it.
We don't have
Correct.
any issues and.
That we agree
and
with
move
this
it on.
resolution.
Okay.
And move it
For
on.
them to vote on it.
And I understand your concern. And again, we did move the agenda out of order. We have not established a mission statement. That's why I made the motion to extend time tonight. So we can have goals, a mission statement, and we have a direction for this advisory committee. I just wanted to make sure you feel comfortable before we vote on anything.
Christina,
I in general don't have an issue with this, but I also kind of work for government and understand exactly what you said. It's just advisory, they do what they want to do, whether we like it or not, or advise or not, so that I understand. I'm assuming since critical race theory, et cetera, was already part of the state, that if it gets violated by a teacher, there's already consequences lined
There
up,
are.
et cetera.
Right, whether or not the board passes this resolution, the state board rules already passed as
Okay.
of last summer.
Okay.
And if we had a complaint related to it, because I work in HR, the attorney in this resolution also would be involved in the investigation
Okay.
of those
This is-
So
specific
this
cases.
is just an extra local
this
step
is
to
a
make
more
a
of-
stance.
Yeah.
The school district is
School
making themselves look
making
good,
sense.
proactive, and they've
Yes.
already
This is
addressed it. It's
it.
done
We
and
told
over.
you.
Wanna be
We
like-
And you
did
didn't
it.
listen, we warned
can
you and
do
you
that.
didn't
okay,
listen.
let's,
Madam Chair, I made the
That's what
motion
it
to
is.
approve
I
this
like to-
resolution item.
we already have the motion, we have a second.
All right.
Any
Can
further
we-
discussion? Mr.
Can we
Reed?
reword it a little bit? Because we're not really
Okay, let
approving
me
the resolution.
let me clarify for Ms. Ruby.
Sorry.
Nowhere in the resolution does it make mention to critical race theory. And I understand it's implied by state statute. But the resolution
I'll amend the
itself
motion.
does not state those exact terminology, and having dealt with legalese, and Diane will tell you that, if it's not specifically listed, then it's not gonna be,
It
Can I-
references.
Can I give her an example?
Let me just say this, let's save some time here.
okay.
I have made my position perfectly
Of
clear.
course.
And that's how I see it. So I appreciate you trying, but that's how I see it. Okay, so let's
Okay.
not delay the meeting any further. I've already made up my mind, I'm gonna vote.
Okay,
All right,
let's
I'm with that.
Madam Chair, I'll make a amendment to my motion for verbiage.
Debbie gets to write this down.
I make the motion that resolution 22-009 is found favorable, or if voted favorably, that it be passed along to the school board, that the
We have no issue.
curriculum review committee of the the Osceola County School District has no issues with this resolution.
The majority of the committee.
The majority of the committee, thank you.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure, does that verbiage work with everyone?
That works for me.
And I do feel that the vote itself, I'm just editorializing, but the result of the vote needs to be in our minutes, so that who's gonna have to present this, John, me or you?
may end up being me, we
Yeah.
might do it together.
Whoever
We'll-
has
we'll
to do
figure
that
it
would
out.
make sure that the
We're
vote is
recording.
given. I would,
That's right.
if it's me, I'm gonna say the vote was
Do I have a
8 to
second?
2,
Well, he wants
9 to 1. Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Muhammad,
This, what we're discussing here is a Florida statute, isn't it?
yes.
This, when your hand is the resolution.
Yes,
for
the
Critical
resolution.
resolution, yeah, to a statute,
And Mr.
My
Muhammad,
basic understanding of this is this. This is a done deal.
right?
Put it in simple terms, it's a done deal. What we discuss in this meeting here would be echoed in the future, that something of this sort came to us before, and this is what the members thought. So, it will be recorded, I'm hoping that this discussion we're having is a healthy one concerning this, so that maybe when something like this reaches the legislature board again, maybe we will be heard at that time, because there would have been repercussions here now, that this was produced and presented to us, and this is what the members thought, this is what this and this and the other. But with respect to amending this, we can't. So we really have to just, support it, and the last say is with the school board.
So,
Isn't that right?
my motion is not to amend the language
No,
of the
no,
resolution.
we're not amending.
No.
I
That was my,
understand.
amend my motion, yes.
Yeah, we
all
support
right,
it.
so I'm gonna go ahead.
I think the verbiage, it just says that
We support.
the majority
Yeah.
agrees to move this
To move
on to the board.
To the board,
Correct.
that's it.
That's
That's it.
that's the motion.
That is the motion, to
And
second.
and
Yeah, so
seconded, correct?
what she was
Nelly?
having,
Got
she was
it,
trying to
okay.
clarify is the language used to present it to them.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna call for the vote. so we
No,
can move
what I
into
was
the-
trying to
okay.
clarify.
I'm sorry,
is-
I don't
Okay.
mean to.
What I was trying to clarify is we're putting the cart before the horse here.
I agree.
We have not established parameters or even had a discussion about this as a committee. And we are asked to vote on a resolution. I think it's premature. That's my real issue.
Yeah.
And I have to be real
That's my
clear.
issue.
You're right. We do not have to vote on this. What they directed me to find from you all is input and feedback
That's what
about
we
the
got.
resolution. And even after tonight, you can email and call the board members to give your feedback. You don't just have to do it here. So we do not technically have to take a vote, yes or no, on this. If you want to take a vote to move it to the board for their consideration, you can. But what they really want from our group is simply
Feedback.
input and feedback.
So would our input, our feedback is that they specifically put critical race theory in it? To spell it out,
The verbiage,
the verbiage?
Or do
I'm,
you
I'm
want
just,
it to say-
I'm just asking that, huh?
I have not pulled my motion, Madam Chair.
I know you haven't.
I think this is us being proactive. We pass it along, let the school board decide where it goes from there.
Yeah, let's move on.
Or
But-
such as critical race theory?
So now because
So,
of other.
to me, I like it generic, because if
Yeah.
someone does any
Right.
of this stuff, I'm gonna be at the school board saying, you passed the resolution, so
Okay,
to me,
I mean,
it
I'm
doesn't
fine
have to
with
say
it.
critical, it
I'm
could be
fine with it
anything
like
to
this.
me. Everybody's this
It's still
buzzword,
defined as,
critical
That's
race
what it
theory
was.
is gonna be gone tomorrow, and I'm
And
still gonna need to
something new
point
is
to
gonna
something
be
else.
in
Because
its
they can pull
place.
it out of things.
To
Yeah.
help.
Yeah, like, I wanna be
Okay.
able to point to just,
We need to
this
try and be
stuff,
mindful of time.
yeah, okay.
thank you. So I made a motion and it was seconded by Nelly.
Second, so we need to vote.
We want to take a roll call, Madam Chair?
No, I think we're okay.
No, I
Unless somebody
think
wants a roll call.
Just say majority, I don't feel like it
Majority,
needs to
I don't
be
think we need to give specifics.
Yeah,
Okay.
agree.
There's a
I say
motion.
no.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
So we have, how many of us are there?
8,
He was on the
8
phone,
yeas,
just like,
1 nay.
Tanya, how did you vote on this, sweetie?
she's like, I didn't see it, right?
I said aye.
Okay, thank you.
9.
All right.
So the motion was carried, and now for the goals of the committee, and Christian's not here because I had some questions for him on his. How I would like to do this is, if it's all right with the committee, Christina, your goals were first. I would like for you to address your goals, and then we can discuss how they would fit in with other people's goals.
Yes, totally.
But I want to go to Christian's first, because as I was reading through these, and it's just not him, I'm sorry. There were some goals that were brought up that weren't necessarily curriculum related,
Right.
and this committee is for curriculum. do we as a committee agree that anything that is not directly related to curriculum not be discussed or a part of
Agree.
our goals?
Yeah, I think it's fair, that's fair.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, a second.
All right, I have Mr. Mohammed
So that kicks
made the
me out.
motion and Adi Anis seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, like sign, motion carried. And just for clarification, that would be,
Meals.
fiscal responsibility, providing facilities to ensure successful teaching, providing healthy meals,
How do you define healthy?
all of those things are needed.
Opposite of what's there now.
Cover with cheese and something.
What do we think about, we'll go over that one. And after-school programs is not a part of curriculum.
Correct.
And Diane, please clarify with me, what do you think about E?
Where we at?
We're at Christian.
Under Christians, some
We're gonna
type
go
of
over Christian first, and we'll come back to you, Christina.
education for teachers or any other person that
I
works?
don't think that is.
That's
No,
not
I think
applicable
that's-
to
Okay,
our-
that's what I thought, but I didn't
The
want to.
only thing I was gonna say is that A could be curriculum.
Yeah, I think A is,
So too.
could be correct.
A
All right.
could be.
Yes,
Under E,
For Christians, right?
under Christians, yeah, anti-bullying, is that not taught in classrooms? It's taught at the elementary level,
it is
And
taught
we-
across all curriculum,
yes.
and there is a curriculum for it.
Then I think it should stay.
We'll discuss that one in a few minutes in more detail.
Yeah, you're right though, that,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with Christina first.
So my goals are just basically reiterating the stuff that's already in the state statute and just hoping we can,
Can we change the
Confirm.
name of, though, of Sunshine State Standards to whatever the new standards are? There's a new name.
yeah, I was
Florida
just,
State
I
Standards.
just
It's
read,
called Florida Standards and you're good.
I was
Can
about
we-
to say, I was just reading the
The state of
material
Florida Plan
and
Standards, yeah.
picking
So
out,
we're in agreement that we can change all of the specific standards to just say the state of Florida standards?
Yes,
yeah, overall,
the
I
new
was just,
Florida standards,
just in general,
Well, they keep changing.
because if you,
well, as of this date.
I'm with you, Christina.
in general, I just wanna make sure it's factual
Yes,
and
right.
equal. That's what all that stuff means.
Yes.
Is there anything in Christina's area that someone thinks needs to be removed or needs to have further discussion?
No, that's pretty much what the mission statement.
I was gonna say, I think it's just,
We're good?
Yeah.
All right, Christians, raising academic achievement for all students. Special,
I like,
it shouldn't be especially to students or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially.
Does the committee have any problems with John and I, and maybe Diane, editing any of the grammatical errors so that when
I
we
don't,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
not
put
just
it out,
all
it is,
mine.
it is correct?
After all, you guys are
Yeah, I was about
educated.
to say that you guys are educators, I would expect.
Well,
much
it depends on the
more.
day of the week whether I'm gonna claim it or not. All right, so we do agree, because there are children with many of the learning
Would
disabilities.
that say including children with disabilities instead of especially, like, are we?
I think including.
Yes.
Inclusive of all
Yes.
students.
Including.
Especially would mean they have more priority.
Yes.
Yeah,
Would it be clearer to
Yes.
say though, inclusive of all students?
correct.
Can I have
Christina, yeah,
just a quick question? So we're going through these one by one.
yes, ma'am.
And are we just gonna pick like a top, cause I'm sure they'll be repetitive.
The ones that
We
we
will-
combine?
We will combine it
Okay.
before the next meeting. John, Scott, and I will meet. And everything that we said yes, that's similar, we will combine and send out to you in advance
Okay, perfect.
so that we don't have to sit here and,
Thank you.
and, yeah, because I have a basketball game to go to tonight.
Mm.
Oh,
I gotta pick up my daughter too.
you're gonna hate me in a second,
But you wouldn't.
I'm so sorry.
Just cross all of his out, that'll get him.
Well, there are
These
things
my
that,
medium, not curriculum.
All right, so now we're going to the bullying.
Mm.
Moving along in the agenda. Some type,
Continuous education for teachers.
that needs to be wordsmith, but we want to make sure that we say something about anti-bullying
Yep.
and the equal rights of all.
Yes,
Yep, I like
You're
that.
okay with us wordsmithing that so that it is
Yes.
Yep.
yes.
stated correctly? All right, Daniel,
all right, so a couple of my things have already been addressed. When having recordings of our meetings, John has taken care of that. It's simple. In regards to when I asked, when should we present our curriculum reviews to the school board? Of course, I didn't know if we had deadlines or we should have if Madam Chair, you would be the one if we ever have to present something. I know it's usually gonna be John that's gonna go up and talk to them, but I didn't know if it would alternate between you or him or,
from what I've been told,
okay,
is when something is brought forward to us to consider, a piece of literature,
Okay,
When it is brought forward to us, then at the next school board meeting or the next meeting that we are able to get on the agenda at is when it would be presented to the school board. So there's no cut in stone deadline that we're gonna be at this meeting or this meeting. It's as information comes to us for consideration, then at the next available school board meeting, because I think they set the agenda by the school board
A week ahead of
a
time.
week ahead.
Mhm.
So we may have a meeting and they may have a school board the next Tuesday, so it would be 2 school board meetings out.
Right. So my question is where is our role in the upcoming adoptions? Because like the next
No.
adoption should be
Social studies
started
is next year.
but it starts in like April, if I'm not mistaken, no?
It might be a little later, but the next one after math is social studies.
right.
So
It'll
Right.
start next fall.
we will make certain
In
that
our
the
count.
committee is updated and included in that process.
Really?
Yeah, it'll start in the fall.
And actually, on the handout I gave you, there's a web page that has made everything much more
Uh-huh.
transparent. And I mentioned it before, but for sake of time, we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
so my second one, yeah. So, before we get to letter C, what was addressed earlier in this meeting was the fact that this is still a relatively new advisory committee to the school board, and there's a lot of things that, again, as reiterated in previous comments, that I have concerns about. We don't have a mission statement. I would like to make a motion for a mission statement to be presented to this committee by the next meeting, which is the first Thursday of March, so that we
Unless
can vote.
change it.
Unless we change it, unless changed otherwise, for a mission statement to be presented to us that we could adopt, if language could be provided to us from staff.
Okay.
Is that,
Okay.
do I have a
I've
second to
got
that
it down
motion?
here.
Do I need a second to that motion?
I see.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ms. Ruby seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Yay!
Thank you. We heard you, Tanya.
C,
Daniel, what did we do with B?
When we should present, we basically established that by that meeting, it's usually gonna be John that's gonna be presenting our, what we discussed favorably or unfavorably,
So is
correct, John?
this gonna,
Well, it may be Mr. Flowers, but
so
it
this
could
is
be
not a
me
goal
too.
then, right?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just want
I
direction,
think
so when,
these were more questions.
how I
than
define
goals.
goals
His was-
direction.
Yeah, his is more questions.
all right,
Okay,
C,
I'm
He
good.
gave us a to-do list.
That's
is
what
what
to
he
say.
gave
But
us.
sounds like
and
you put
realistically,
that.
when we say goals, I wanna make sure that this committee goes in the right direction. I want us to have a clear goal.
Yes, me too.
This helps focus
All right.
it.
Okay.
Daniel C,
You're absolutely
C,
right.
okay, I wanted to make sure that, we were transparent. I think that was another goal that I had of this committee. So one of the things I had, I drafted up some general language was if any member of this committee has any financial, personal, or private interest of any of the curricular changes of this, school district or learning materials, that has to be disclosed. Now, I don't know if Sunshine Law covers that, but I wanna make sure that,
Sunshine,
It
yeah,
does.
I think it does.
It does.
yeah.
it's covered in it, yeah.
so, in regards to that, if Sunshine Law already covers it, then Madam
does.
Chair, that item C is completely.
Straighten up.
Okay, C's off.
So I thought D was covered just in like the state required curriculum stuff too, but,
That is correct.
Yeah, we're pretty much told.
yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like they're
D
told
is-
what to
yeah.
teach.
Okay.
That's what I heard in
Special?
math.
No, going up
Presentation.
my phone, even though I keep declining it. Let's see, item D, I just wanted to have this for general discussion, we could skip it, to be honest, which is what direction does this committee wanna take in the education of students? We can postpone, temporarily postpone that item, we can have a discussion at another meeting. Item E, how do we advertise to the community that this review committee exists? That's a goal of us my goal is make sure people know we're out here. Make sure that there's nobody right now sitting in this audience right now, and we just discussed critical race theory, air quotations for the recording. This is a big topic. You see how many people show up to these school board meetings, but we don't have anybody here. So we need to make sure that maybe we can have social media posts saying, hey, we have a curriculum review committee, XYZ. The agenda is published on social media. I know it is published on the website, but how can we target more people to attend these meetings?
Okay, and
The
John,
law
would
re-
you talk to Dana about that, please?
Yeah, really quickly, the law requires this, like any other committee meeting, to be put on the calendar and advertised in public notice like any other meeting, and it
Correct.
was. And you can see, the same is true, until recently, board meetings were
We're
similar.
empty.
I used to be the only person
Agreed,
sitting out there.
agreed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So we
so
do the
as it
routine.
goes on, more people will come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or as people submit stuff and
They'll
like
come.
complaints, I think.
Right.
Is there a need to review all grade level curriculum? Really?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I didn't know if you
I'm
wanted
about to say, we can't be here.
We're
all
going K
night.
through 12. I just want to establish that going
Yeah.
forward, this
K through
curriculum
12,
review.
Yeah,
We don't
this-
want to talk about we don't want to talk about college curriculum or anything that has to do with that. We
Yeah.
want to talk, no
K
pre-K,
through
12.
childcare, it's
Yeah.
about curriculum, core, that's fantastic. And then I just want to address, in the event, if something controversial does come before this, review committee, will there be alternative materials presented to us instead of the one, it's either this, vote on this, or we have to come back to you? Can there also be alternatives when presented to us at that time? So we can also have options. I like having options in front of me.
Well, to be honest, the committee would be the one who will provide options when presented with whatever we
Okay.
bring, you know, the topic. Instead of us telling you, we're supposed to get
We'll make the
feedback from you.
Understood.
So,
Besides the mission statement, Madam Chair, another thing that I want to address with us, I don't think it was ever told to any of us that was appointed to this in terms of term limits. I think we should have full transparency in that. We can't be here in these positions forever, so I didn't know if somebody maybe wanted to discuss that momentarily here real quick in terms
That
of.
would come from the school board.
So that we'd have to let the school board know to let us know that we want limits on how long we serve on these committees. I think, is that the right verbiage I'm saying here?
Yes.
So I don't have to make a motion, can we just have a general
It's all-
consensus to like, yes, let the school board meeting, at the next school, or the whatever school board meeting permits to have
Ms.
that on the
Nelly.
agenda for discussions
Can I add
around?
something real quick though regarding number F? Are you saying that we're only gonna be reviewing materials for?
K through 12.
K through
No,
12.
K through 12.
I know, I just didn't know if we wanted to
we
focus
gotta
more.
focus so
Yeah.
that we can actually get things done and you're not
That's why-
overwhelmed.
Andrea
Yeah.
brought us K-12 math.
That's my
Yeah.
biggest worry.
So John, then we could just go back to
Yeah.
the school board and let
That's
them know,
what I'm saying.
hey,
That's a lot.
they're coming up with a mission statement, but they also wanna know they were appointed. What, do we do this every school board, or I'm sorry, every school year? Are these people only here for example, 2021, or 2021 through 2022, 2022 through 2023, or do we do it for a full actual calendar
So
year?
we need guidance from them.
Yes,
Absolutely
cause we were just
understood.
appointed and,
G,
are there alternative?
We answered G.
Yeah,
Okay,
are there
H?
some, and I think H, I think I
okay, Ms.
discussed that.
Ruby,
Okay,
Hey guys, this is Tanya. I'm gonna have to drop off. I have to go coach. I'm sorry.
Bye,
Okay.
Tanya.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time, Tanya.
Thanks, Tanya.
All right, thank you so
Tanya,
much for your time.
quick question
All
for
right,
you.
bye-bye.
Tanya, quick question, no?
Say hi.
Yeah.
I wanted to inquire as to when the cheerleading season ends.
Well, I'll ask her.
Sometimes
be
it can be,
on
it
the
can be
recording.
year round if it's competition year.
All right. Ms. Bridgeforth, you're so patient. Thank
It's
you for
not a
indulging
problem,
us.
not a problem. Okay, first of all, I put this purpose in here because I had needed something to write to. I just couldn't reach out nowhere.
I agree.
Yes,
I
I
needed
agree
some help.
completely.
So the first part of this purpose, as you know, is the district purpose, is the first line.
Mhm.
So, inspiring our learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens by establishing and or reviewing what students should know and be able to demonstrate at the end of a given period. So that's my thought process, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for goals, I think they need to be real, accurate, valid, and necessary depictions of the historical records and age appropriate.
Yes, ma'am.
Material that comes from sources that are refereed and edited from recognized journals and other sources. And by that, what I mean is, the teachers are not just pulling stuff off the internet and running into the classroom, and it has not been reviewed by a legitimate source.
Okay, and I'm gonna clarify on that. According to district policy,
You have to get it from,
teachers are supposed to use cups. The approved
What is
curriculum.
cups?
Cups
I mean, you guys have to break these.
Yeah,
down.
yeah, these are-
You
these
have
are-
to
these are-
break acronyms down.
It's the curriculum unit plans that the
Thank you.
district provides us.
Thank you.
Okay, that's what they're supposed to use.
Okay.
And they're supposed to use the approved curriculum such as the math adoptions. That's what they're supposed to do.
But aren't they allowed to support that with other
They can bring in
stuff if I
supplemental
read
materials.
correctly?
Well, and
That's the piece that I think
Yes.
she's interested in.
And that's
That is
usually
the
where it goes
concern.
wrong.
That's where it goes wrong. I
That's
think
where it
that's
goes
Ms.
what-
wrong.
Ruby, Mohammed needs to leave, so can we let him touch on his
Sure,
one
go
item
ahead.
before
Oh,
he
you want me
leaves?
to do it?
Mom, and I thought we stripped your item.
I think so.
Well,
I did, I said,
He wrote it down himself, he struck it.
yeah, we did.
are you
Because we
sure?
said-
Because
we
because
said
mental
that
health is an
it
important issue.
wasn't- It
But
wasn't.
is that curriculum, or is that?
Oh.
There
we
is
said that
curriculum
it
for mental
wasn't-
health.
He's
it
struck
wasn't-
it.
There is a curriculum
There's
for mental
correct-
health.
See?
In the,
There
in the
is.
required instruction statute I gave you, it does include mental health.
There you go.
No,
Did
I
not
think,
check out.
I think, you know, this time that we went through the COVID,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
it affected a lot of
Yes, it
people,
has.
children, I mean,
It
I
has, yeah.
personally was, I got hurt with it as well, with family members. And, oh boy, I have a niece, that she used to go to school here, she's out of school now. She's out of school now, and she's, I would say, mentally disturbed. Because she got COVID, and, the COVID resonate, diabetes 1. Now the kid walks around with a machine. I feel so sorry for her and everybody. The motivation, the support there is not there for her. Is not there for her.
Well, when you have kindergartners drawing a picture of themselves and they're only drawing their eyes, no nose or mouth,
That's
you're
that's the
talking
problem.
about the very basic
Yes.
mental health going on.
Good
And that's
point.
happened,
That
and that
is
has happened.
The issue.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so we will wordsmith
So you
yours
said
for
it's in
mental
there,
health.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
It would be part of the purview of the curriculum committee.
I will wordsmith
Okay.
it so that it's covered.
thank you.
All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Ruby.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir. Madam, thank you.
Number 2,
We'll get
accurate
rid of my
accounts of
daughter.
race relations in America, Osceola County. Honest discussion about the race theory and its origins in the beginning.
Oh, please don't fall.
That's what-
Trip
is that what we're
hazard,
doing?
trip
Is
hazard,
this
trip
over there?
hazard.
Yeah, we can.
I thought it was gonna be me, so that.
And we've already started that piece
So
already.
we already kind of canceled that one, right?
Yeah, and basically, it's balanced. Tell both sides of the story.
Yes.
History is history. If it's a fact, it's a
Yes.
fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good,
Yes,
bad,
ma'am.
or the ugly, it's still a fact.
Agreed.
And so tell both sides of the story, because both sides need to be told. And it needs to be relevant, material, relevant to the period of what is being studied without all unnecessary details. And by that I mean, a second grader understanding of slavery does not need to be the same as a 10th grader's understanding of slavery.
Right.
Right.
Just give them the facts.
Mhm.
It's a fact. This is what happened, but age appropriately.
Mhm.
Okay.
What grade should they be learning certain things too? That's by the state, right?
Well, yeah, but
I mean.
different levels,
collect-
as you go through the school, you get more information
Different
about the same
details.
subject. Yeah, more
Yeah.
details, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
And then information free of the derogatory language,
Mhm.
and the information needs to be bias-free. If it's a
Yes.
fact, it's a fact.
Okay,
Do we want it to be peer evaluated facts?
And then, readiness, age-appropriate material.
Very well.
mine were simple, appropriate for age level and standard being taught. Review controversial materials to determine if state statute has been violated, which brings it into the new state statute. Review proposed faculty in service to determine if materials are appropriate, because sometimes some of the people that they bring in as outside vendors to do presentations before the district are bringing up information that is not appropriate. And I've sat through some of those,
But
and
who's
it's like,
picking those people? Is it?
Right.
I mean, it's.
it comes from the district.
Thank you.
But here's the thing, is when you make a selection of somebody who's gonna come and talk about a topic, they'll tell you, this is what I'm gonna talk about.
Right.
And when they get there, they add other stuff.
Real
Mhm.
quick,
Oh.
think of them as a vendor and not necessarily a speaker.
No, but even as a
Yes.
vendor,
Right.
someone has to select me as a vendor and have to have a relationship to know that, okay, Christina teaches this course or I took this course. So who selects me to come and speak to a whole group of people without knowing what I'm gonna talk about? Like,
Because it was done the last 2 summers
I
based on the
just said-
recommendation from the
Right.
school district, and they came in on a training they thought they were gonna get, and it literally was,
But
like,
no
had
one
people in
actually
tears.
sat through the training ever. They just kind of Googled it. Saw
No,
that-
you sit through the training,
No,
but that
no.
doesn't mean, no, what they do is.
no,
we-
before approval, no,
Right.
they do not sit through the training.
Thank you. I'm
They
like,
read through an agenda or a
Uh,
synopsis, they may get recommendations from other school districts, and
because I
then
mean,
they
But
come
let
in.
me
we all
clarify.
we've all been
Let
in
me
and out of
clarify,
your
there have been
presentation.
some where the district resource people have sat through some of the trainings, not all, but they have sat through, and the people that did the presentation did one thing one way, say like in Polk County,
Right.
and then they
Change
completely
it.
change it in Osceola County.
Oh my God.
But
And what we try and do is squash it,
Hard.
Yeah.
supposedly, I don't know, I haven't taken a training since
Okay,
2
that's
years.
that's why I was confused by the whole thing. Like, how do you
To
pick
help.
someone and
All right,
don't
Miss
know?
Debbie,
what
you
they
wanna go
want?
ahead with yours, please?
Yeah,
And
go
then,
ahead.
and, okay, so, mine, two things, help the students, protect the students. I would like our committee to help the students of Osceola County by making sure our district and teachers are providing the highest quality, rigorous education we can to prepare our students for the real world. I would like our committee to protect our students by making sure that their education is exactly that, education. I do not believe children should be swayed socially, emotionally, spiritually, or politically in any way by the school or the teachers.
So,
We are Switzerland.
that's right.
We are neutral. We
When
give
information
you
comes to us,
facts.
we are looking at the materials and saying these things. So,
Yeah.
so what we're planning, again, transparent,
Mm-hmm.
John, Scott, and I will get together, not the Monday before, it will be before, but I have to get with their schedules. And combine these things and get them to you before the next meeting. At least a week, hopefully 2 weeks. I'm not promising because I don't know Scott's schedule. That'll be something that, John, if you can get with Scott when he's back in town and ask him, okay, what's as soon as you can get together so that we can combine the items. And Miss Ruby, I love the way you wrote yours.
Yeah,
I thought this is what we need to do. Yes, Christina?
I was gonna say that while you guys are combining them based on the goals, can you put together some draft mission and like, so we can
Yes.
just get
Yes,
there?
No,
Yeah.
that's the motion we passed.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
we'll be there.
So,
Yeah, so we can get there.
we'll get a mission statement drafted, presented to us by next meeting so we can vote on it. That'll be going forward. This is the mission statement of this.
And the same thing with the goals. We've got a good start. If there's anything, I know Diane, you're new tonight. If there's anything you feel that needs to be added, if you could email it to Tanya's.
Right.
And then Tanya will forward it to the rest of us.
Okay.
Because I can't email you, you can't email me.
Right, right.
But if
no.
we go through Tanya, like when I thanked everybody for coming to our last meeting, I sent Tanya the email, please forward this to the entire committee so that there is a public record. If somebody says it, April did not email each member individually. It went out to everybody
Everybody at one
and it was
time.
one blanket statement.
Right.
That's why when I emailed you about the minutes, Tanya responded, and you didn't. I'm thinking, I kept checking my email, like, why didn't she answer me?
Yeah, she's not allowed to.
I was thinking, that it sounds so silly to me.
Yes,
So I just
Yes,
asked her
ma'am.
for like
Yes.
a minute writing
Yes.
template.
yes, email them to Tanya and then we will look at and do it as soon as possible so that when we get there, we can combine everything.
And I'm gonna make certain that everybody, including Ms. Follett,
Yeah, I felt bad
gets
for her.
electronic copies of all the handouts.
Yeah.
Can we have a
Some of
motion
them I
that
didn't
states
even
that?
have till today.
I'm getting danced.
So repeat the verbiage so I know how to word it, Mr. Boyd. I apologize.
That all members, regardless of their presence in the meeting or Zoom, phone, whatever, are provided with the materials prior to the meeting
All right.
That
So,
are available,
that are
cause some
available.
of them weren't.
so before I make that motion, Madam Chair,
As I'm sitting here getting-
I'll make two motions. My first motion would be establishing attendance policies for this meeting. I'm open to input for discussions for that, and I do wanna be respectful of everybody's time here, we are over, but I think that's something that needs to be addressed,
When you say attendance, you mean in person, face to face versus on the phone, or from on the phone?
So
and attendance?
so that's input right there, so if you're not here or you're not on the phone, you're not here. Alright?
Okay, makes sense.
And can we always be on the phone?
Well, that's the thing, a conference call, I know we have Tanya right now, can we have more than one person other than Tanya? And that could be me, if I'm sick and I'm,
If we
Tanya
have
and
three
I'm.
people on the phone, are we gonna have
They
three
can
phones?
set it up, but there's one number where you
Oh, do
call
we
in
need
and
to
it'll
hang
be
this
more.
up?
So it's a call-in number that can be
You
moved?
can go ahead and hang it up, she already hung
Oh,
up.
I forgot.
No,
she
you're
wasn't in
fine.
here.
I believe so, that if there is a number set up and I
Well,
think
if you
it can
got-
be done within the
This,
district.
this setup right here is not set up to accommodate like conference calling, but other options too. We could consider virtual if you wanted to do that. I think that
Teams.
face-to-face for this kind of conversation is probably better, at least for most of the
I believe
time.
so.
That's just my personal opinion and I'm really not supposed to offer it, but I did.
So again, this is discussion because I wanna make a motion here, but I want input from everybody because,
Well, Daniel, can we check with those members that were on the phone tonight and see
okay.
their availability for the next meeting? Because
So for the next agenda, Madam Chair, I make a motion that we establish attendance policies
Got it.
for the next meeting. Now, the
got it.
second motion would be, I make a motion to have all members of the curriculum review committee to be provided the materials, whether they are here or not at the meeting.
Absolutely gonna happen.
Do I have a second to that motion?
does he have a second? Okay, and Debbie seconded. I don't need to write that down this day.
Can I go
Can
back to
you-
his first point of attendance?
Let's take the vote first, okay?
Go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Adais, Adai.
Aye.
Yeah, got it, I tried. I've got it written down.
Robles.
Yeah, call him Miss Robles.
I'm just gonna
There
say
you
Miss
go.
A.
Reverend
so,
Robles.
yeah.
You'll get it, you'll get it. In attendance, can we have like a limit of, on the amount of times that we can be online or by phone? Because I've run this kind of meetings before and we've had people that always did it online or on the phone.
I
never
agree.
And
came.
again, that's
We
what
will
we wanna
discuss
discuss
it
by
at
the
the
next
next
meeting. We
Thank
wanna,
you.
I put it on the agenda
I
for us to
appreciate it.
discuss.
And I have church now at 7 and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
15 minutes away, so I
Then
have
you-
5 minutes to
Fine.
run from my car.
Oh my
to
Then
goodness.
you know this, cause we just did this at ours, but do
That's
you guys
exactly.
have an example of other attendance policies?
There's a template somebody's already done and we can
Yeah.
adopt.
I can look and see,
Don't
it
even
never
go into
really,
research.
Yeah.
it
So I
it
guess
depends on the
you
You
committee.
can miss
That way
two
if it's pretty
meetings
standard.
unexcused. How do we
Yeah.
define
Yes, ma'am.
unexcused? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Can I make a
Okay.
motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
She's gotta go to somewhere, so I don't wanna.
30 seconds. So I see here on the agenda, Madam Chair, we a date for next meeting, we just wanna establish. I made the motion last
Last
week,
time.
and I know
And
two of you
then-
weren't here. We established as one of the first motions, or one of the votes, that we will meet on the first Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. every month for the year of 2022, and we'll revisit it in December. So we wanna make sure that works with y'all's calendar. That's why we met today at 5 on the first Thursday of the month. So I don't know why it was on the agenda again, that we already established
Yeah.
it, so if they could take that off the agenda.
Because of Ms.
Uh,
Filak having a conflict and she
Oh.
wanted to discuss it, but then she left,
Dropped
so.
out.
So I think,
We'll,
I,
yeah,
John's gonna touch base with her and see when cheerleading is
and,
over.
and in regards back to attendance, how do we define, do you stay the whole meeting? Can you walk out halfway through the meeting? I also want that addressed as well.
I mean,
Sorry.
in general, attendance means you showed up and sat through roll call, and if you have to leave during the meeting, I mean,
Again,
that's just.
That's,
General.
Okay, so that's gonna be on next month's agenda.
all right.
Exactly.
So let's talk about it.
Adjourn.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do we have a second?
I-
Oh my
Second.
goodness.
We are.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
All right.
That's what I was trying to
I'm gonna
do.
go
You
get
don't
I
have to
felt
vote on
rushed
that.
too
Motion
about
to
bringing
adjourn.
everything
Just
tonight.
adjourn.
It's not a problem.
Diane, thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. I mean, I'm glad to be here.
I agree with you.
My clock ran under.
Oh, sure.
I don't wanna leave.
All right, I'm gonna go to a basketball game.
Be well, drive safe.
Thank you, thank you.
Come back, just kill them.
I'm getting good, driving 417 every day to East
Damn, I
Campus.
got it.
Well, 2 days a week.
Oh, no.
Well,
I
all of
had a
sudden,
cousin that
when
had a
on
little
Tuesday night
boutique a
the
couple
board met,
counties
they
away.
decided they wanted to
And I got a
discuss
gold one
this.
and a silver one, and it's funny because it's got a
Resolution to
spring at the
our
bottom, so
committee.
it's like very,
Thank you, Nelly.
it's very interesting.
I'm glad I came to the
Most of
meeting
my
on Tuesday
bracelets
night.
and
I don't
everything
go to
though,
all
I
of
get
them.
it. Have you been downtown St. Cloud?
I can't.
Listen,
I didn't even
I
see it.
love Cynthia, I go in there
Yeah.
all the
I didn't-
time.
I love
I said, I look, if you see his, put his
They all
hand
have
up.
like unique.
To be honest, it's that's my personal.
I walked in there like, oh, yeah,
Because if I mean, I don't.
It's
I don't-
related to
can't go in there. I'm like,
attorney
I'm not
and
coming by
two
Sunday 'cause I'm gonna buy me
members
the
that are
earrings.
to discuss it.
Yeah.
We'll see
Her,
if they
her
can
accessory.
pass it
I like
next
the little
meeting.
t-shirts.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay,
Bristol.
well, cool.
Yeah, no, like,
The tripwire.
Don't trip over the wire. Have a good night. I hear you're running for school board.
What's that?
I hear you're running for school board.
I am.
I live in your district.
Oh,
I live in
awesome.
Bay Lake.
Oh, okay.
what is the position
Great.
of
5?
us speaking to
Oh, do you?
community?
Yep.
I'm a member of NAACP, and they've asked me
Okay.
to share.
Oh, okay, yes, that is
information
District
about
5.
the committee,
Mr. Boyd,
and
thank
it's
you.
all public record
Absolutely.
by the time they meet anyway, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm not.
You're fine. I think to share that whatever you experience and witness at a public meeting here, you can share.
Just wanna make sure
Absolutely
that-
can.
That we are all on the same
The,
page.
the only time it would ever be a concern is if it involved the identity of the student, because then there's some laws protecting that. But that will rarely, if ever, come up here.
I would
unless we
never
have
do
an
that
ask-
anyway, but-
Well, depending on how this goes and the issues raised, like if there's an issue of curriculum, it might involve a child and somebody
Yeah.
knows them,
Yeah.
then we just have to be careful not to. So,
Okay, well, I just wanted to be,
yes, ma'am.
I like things decent and in order, and that's just me.
I'm in
I
the
like them
same
decent
way.
and in order, I don't like to hit lines.
That's why I felt a little rushed, just like y'all.
Yeah, well, I hope I didn't.
You did not.
Because that was not the intent.
Please do not feel that way. You did not. I understand and take it very positively, and I'm grateful